Hey guys, I'm Rich from NeoWin. Today we're unboxing the Dell XPS 15 2-in-1. So I'm really excited about this because it contains a brand new Intel 8th generation processor, which when I say brand new, I mean this is the first PC to use it, along with the HP Spectre 15 X360. So it's pretty cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a second. But first, let's stop looking at this ugly box and see what's inside of it. Okay, so Dell packages their PCs in kind of a weird way. You'll see that there is a box inside of it, which is normal, you know, kind of a fancier box that's more pleasant for consumers. What's kind of weird to me, though, is that they don't include the charger or anything inside of this box. It's just the laptop itself. All right, so if we look inside of this big ugly plastic cardboard box again, you'll see this is where we'll find our charger. And it should charge via USB Type-C. That's the power cable. Over here, we have a USB Type-C to USB Type-A adapter, which doesn't fill me with confidence about this machine. This should be our pen, but we'll get to that. And it does charge through USB Type-C. We'll open all that stuff later. In here, let's check out our pen. All right, because this is a 2-in-1, so pen support is important. And here we go. All right, there's our pen, and again, we'll play with this stuff once we turned it on. I'm super excited for the machine itself, though, because it's a G series processor, which is all new for Intel. Now, the 8th generation G series, it has an AMD GPU on the die. So what we're getting for the first time, we're getting an Intel CPU with an integrated, dedicated GPU. So with Intel HD graphics, or regular integrated graphics, it shares the system memory. So now you have dedicated graphics memory, and this is a 4 gigabyte GPU that's included. And the processor itself is an HQ series processor, which is the high power processors. Usually in Ultrabooks, you'll see the U series, which has been dual core previously. They went with quad core for the 8th generation, but HQ was quad core previously. In the 8th generation H series, they're going with hexacore. However, an Intel's processor lineup this time around is very confusing because some are Kaby Lake, which is 7th generation, and some are Coffee Lake, which is true 8th generation. So the U series processors that we're seeing now, those are our Kaby Lake. They're calling it Kaby Lake R. So really all they did was they added 2 extra cores. What they did for these G series processors, they're calling this Kaby Lake G. And so they're taking the 7th generation H series processors, or something very similar to those, and they're adding that dedicated GPU. So the processor's not all that different from the 7th gen. Now, so the actual 8th gen H series processors, those are Coffee Lake. So those are more powerful than this, and those don't come with a dedicated GPU. So those PCs you'll see come with their own GPUs, like NVIDIA graphics or something. So here we have the XPS 15 2-in-1. You can see that there's just some paperwork in the box, and that's it. I just find it really weird that they have this little box. It's a very nice box, but it's just the laptop that comes in the box, and everything else comes in that big cardboard box. So we're going to open this up. This one should have a Core i7, where it starts. This machine starts at $1499. It comes with a Core i5. So that's kind of a big deal. It's priced the same as the base model Surface Book 2. So if you want to use that for comparison, the Surface Book 2 has a U series processor, and the base model is a Core i5, and the Core i5 is a 7th gen, so it's dual core, no dedicated GPU. So if you're comparing this to a Surface Book 2 at that price point, huge difference. So this has a 15.6-inch display. This one's 4K. That base model that I was just talking about is 1080p. Okay, so I did not realize this about this machine. There are no USB Type-A ports. Over here you have 2 USB Type-C ports. Those are not Thunderbolt 3. Those should be USB 3.1 Gen 1. These should be two Thunderbolt 3 ports, and then, of course, a micro SD port over here. So the interesting thing about that is Thunderbolt 3, you can actually you can plug in two 4K monitors off a single port, or one 5K monitor. So you probably can actually handle that with the dedicated GPU that's inside of this thing. It is a convertible, which is awesome. So the whole point, now I spent a great deal of time talking about the new processors. I didn't say exactly what it means. So what you get from integrating a dedicated GPU onto the die is you can have these much thinner form factors, right? 15.6 inch 4K display, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gigabytes of storage, and we haven't seen convertibles like this yet. Lenovo's Yoga 720 did have a 7th gen HQ series processor, and it had a 2 gigabyte GTX 1050 GPU. The new one, the 730, has a U series processor and a 4 gigabyte 1050. So these are some of the most powerful convertibles that we've seen so far. Is it going to let me turn it on? For some reason, it's not letting me turn it on. So as this boots up, we can actually take another look at the pen, right? So this is a pretty standard pen. I assume it's entry. It could be Wacom, but it does have a battery inside of it, which some Wacom pens do have batteries. Quadruple A, not my favorite type of pen. I prefer pens that are rechargeable, or what I really like is what Lenovo did with the ThinkPad X1 Yoga, and they actually included the pen inside of the device where you can just pull it out and use it when you need to. So what this comes with is some kind of loop that we'll have to figure out how to use later, and like a ring. There are a lot of different methods for connecting a pen to a device. Microsoft uses a magnet where you just kind of snap it onto the side. I'm not a big fan of that method because what ends up happening there is it falls off in your bag. They used to use the pen loop method where you would just kind of stick a loop onto the side of the keyboard and do that. That kind of gets in the way. I've seen Lenovo's consumer models. They have a clip that snaps into the USB Type A port. That's annoying because it takes up a USB Type A port, right? So that's why I always like the ThinkPad option of just keeping the pen inside of the device. But then you get a smaller pen. I also like pens that are rechargeable. And again, going back to that ThinkPad where it recharges while it's inside of the device. But I don't know. I'll figure this out at a later time. You see we have an Infinity Edge display, which this display is beautiful. Unfortunately, that means that the webcam is still underneath the display. So you're not going to really be able to see much from the webcam. I asked Dell about this. Okay. And what I was told, see, it just kind of looks up at you, which isn't great. What I was told when I asked about this, they said, well, how often do you use your webcam? And I said, well, pretty much never. And for me, I would prefer to work when I needed to. So, but what they said was, well, if you're not using your webcam, wouldn't you prefer to have a more immersive experience like what you're seeing from this Infinity Edge display? It's beautiful and it's immersive. So I get where they're coming from on this. Okay. And I mean, for businesses where they do a lot more video chat and stuff like that, they do have the webcam on top and they sacrifice those narrow bezels. So the keyboard here, you can see that it's kind of it's a thin key, it's a shallow keyboard. So I'm going to see how that goes. They put some magnets in there and stuff to try and make it feel like a normal keyboard. And we'll see how that goes. They did announce a new XPS 15 clamshell with those new hexa-core H series processors that I was talking about earlier, and that has a normal keyboard. So I'm going to see how the keyboard feels in use. In general, I think it's I'm just pumped for this machine, really. I'm a little disappointed there's no USB Type-A ports. I don't like that they had to include a Type-C to Type-A dongle for me to plug in a mouse, because I'm really not a fan of Bluetooth peripherals. Although I'll actually, Bluetooth mice are a little better with laptops than they are with desktops in my experience. So I'll probably use the Surface Precision mouse with this. But normally I would use a USB mouse, and I'm not gonna carry around a dongle just to plug in a mouse, is what I'm saying. But yeah, this machine looks pretty cool. HP hasn't sent me the Spectre 15X 360 yet, so this is my first PC with that G series processor. And yeah, it looks awesome. I mean, the display looks. Dell makes really nice. Those Infinity Edge displays are always look great. And they asked me if I wanted the 1080p model or the 4K model. I picked the 4K model because it's beautiful, but that's going to sacrifice battery life. What we have, and I don't believe the battery is removable, but no, it's not. Obviously, it's a unibody XPS. The battery is 75 watt hours, so that's it's a big battery, but it's also, this is a powerful machine. 1080p would certainly save battery life. Dell quotes it as getting about 50% more battery life than this will. HQ series processor, dedicated GPU, that's a lot of power. All right. The one thing I do take issue with this machine is that it does come with Windows 10 Home. And in my opinion, any machine that costs over $1,000, and this particular model costs $2,349, should come with Pro. It has the power to run virtual machines quite well, so I would like Hyper-V on something like this. I don't think that a consumer should be asked to spend an additional $100 to be able to get that. But, it is what it is. These types of machines always ship with Windows 10 Home. It's just my kind of beef with the entire industry. I don't think that a regular consumer is going to shell out for this much power. But obviously, being a convertible, that means that we can use it to take notes in OneNote. We can write on photos. We can draw routes in maps. Windows Ink is actually pretty awesome, and I wasn't a huge fan of it when I first started. But I got used to it. In events, sometimes I'll take some notes in OneNote, and it's cool that you can write on photos. In Edge, this is a big one for me, is that in Edge you can write on PDFs. So, a company, I'm not connected to the internet right now, but a company will send me a document to sign, and what's cool is I can just load it up, sign it, and there's no printing and signing and scanning, which just feels so barbaric to me at this point. So I think that's one of the things that I love most about pens, and that's also my biggest issue with pens, is that's my biggest use case for Windows Ink, is signing documents. So if that's all I'm doing, and I only do it once every 3 or 4 months, I don't need to carry this big pen around. I don't need a replaceable battery because it's dead by the time I use it. So something that's rechargeable, something that's easy to carry around, is important to me. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's about all I can say about this for now, and I'll definitely have more for you in a few weeks. Let's say 4 or 5 weeks. I'm definitely going to be bringing this thing to Microsoft Build with me, and this is going to be my main laptop. That's it. I'm Rich from NeoWin. Have a great night.